Some of you have done some bad shit. My secret is, I don't like my stepkids at all. Are they redheads too?
I would also pick his poops up with a paper towel and throw it on their bed.
And ended up doing the dirty in the Catholic Church. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost, you are absolved,
of your sins.
All of you.
Welcome to Brutally Honest with Sam and Jacob. I'm Sam.
And I'm Jacob. And today we're going to absolve you of your sins. So this is our second episode, and we feel like we're really cooking now.
Yeah, you may have noticed we've upgraded things from the last episode. We now have a couch. And this is our first couch ever.
And it's so comfy. It's a big, comfy couch.
So to let you know, we just were like, why do we need a couch? We just never fancied ourselves couch people because we don't have a television. We watch things on an iPad. And so we were like, let's just get sitting chairs like old ladies.
Yep. And those were good while they lasted, but they weren't very comfortable.
They weren't very comfortable. We never really sat in them.
No, they were more display things for Samantha's dirty laundry.
Well, they didn't start off that way. They started off as display aesthetic chairs to make it look like we had some furniture. And then they did kind of move to another place for me to throw my clean laundry, not my dirty laundry.
Both kinds of laundry. Laundry that you would wear once and then say, I'm going to wear this again.
Yeah,
So instead
sometimes
of folding
that happens.
it and putting it back in the closet, it goes over a chair.
Well, because it's dirty enough that you don't want it touching the clothes that have never been touched before, but it's clean enough that you'll wear it again. Now, I'm not talking about like underwear and stuff like that. I'm talking about, like sweatshirts that you're going to wear again. Things like that.
Things like that. Well, now we have the couch, and there will be no clothing on this couch.
No, we're taking really good care of this couch. I honestly don't know why we waited to have a couch.
Yeah. So we are going to talk about our confession today first before we crack into yours. And we recently talked about this on our channels, and it got more of a response than I ever would have thought of.
Yeah, it was kind of cool, but I think the reason why it got such a response is because it's something that people can relate to because it's something that exists in multiple states.
Yeah. So our confession this week is that we used to attend a cult meeting to get free food.
Yes, we did.
And this was at a time when we were broke actors on the stage and just met. And we're looking for activities to do, particularly activities while we were under the influence of gummy bears.
Yes. There was a time in our life where that was just the fondest thing. We would take a gummy bear and we would go out in the world and just go on adventures. There's this restaurant in Vista, California, which is about 15 minutes away from the theater we met at. And we would go there and we would have meals.
And they have great food.
Great food.
Because they grow a lot of it themselves because they're an end times cult. And
yeah, it's called the Yellow Deli.
Yeah.
And the Yellow Deli, it's really fascinating. It actually kind of feels like you're in like Frontierland and Disneyland.
Yeah.
The first time I went, I was like, wow, what is this? Because you enter it and it feels like you're walking into a tree house. It's made of wood and there's hand-painted signage everywhere.
Yeah.
The menus, they hand draw themselves. So it's very rustic and whimsical feeling.
the music is like on the fiddle.
They're like burning incense everywhere. There's
a dumb waiter.
There's a dumb waiter, a spiral staircase that gets you from one floor to the other floor. And they're open 24 hours a day with the exception of the Sabbath.
Right.
And they actually honor the Sabbath the way the Jewish Sabbath runs, but they're not Jewish. They
No.
just are kind of a conglomeration of Judaism, Christianity, and
Whatever else they can
whatever
find.
else they can
And I
think of.
read about this that cults will often take familiar aspects from different faiths and kind of mix them together because it gets people to feel a familiarity with them and then dive into them.
Yes. And all of the men grow their hair out, part it down the center, and wear their hair in a low ponytail. They're all wearing plaid short sleeve shirts, and sometimes long sleeve shirts, and they all have khaki pants on. Sometimes, if they want to be stylish, they'll throw a bandana around their head to wear with their ponytail. And all the women are wearing raggedy old long skirts and shirts, and they're all oversized. Not the women, the clothing.
Yeah. And
And
everybody looks like not filthy, but they look like that way you look after you've been camping for a day and you wake up the next morning and there's like just kind of like a general oiliness that's really not appetizing. But
And you leave this place smelling like a campfire because they
Yeah.
have so much incense and an actual campfire burning outside that you have to walk by just to get inside the restaurant. But their food is so good.
so good.
So
Really,
good.
really fantastic.
I mean, they have a turkey sandwich that's just like unbelievable.
Simple stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Really good soup.
It's really good soup.
They have really good pastries. You love the banana milk.
Oh, the banana milk is really yummy.
But we were on this fixation that, like, even if we wouldn't eat there, we would go there for a snack, and we would eat. We would pick up this green juice, which you can buy at the restaurant and have it served in a glass, chilled. I mean, the presentation is wonderful. Or you can just buy a jug of it, and we would get this green bar, which had like spirulina, white.
Yerba mate.
Yeah, all
these
this
interesting
stuff.
things.
So we would run and grab that to go for a snack, even if we weren't eating there. So we were frequenting this place enough times where we developed a familiarity with this waitress who was always there. And if she saw us, she would make sure that she was the one who served us.
Yeah, and her name was Emina.
Emina.
Not Enema, which it
Emina.
sounded a lot like. But she was just like, she looked like Mrs. Butterworth. A trim Mrs. Butterworth, or like Virginia Woolf or something. Just like in like these gowns and long dress, and was just kind of the matriarch of this group.
And it should be noted that Emina was her chosen name.
Right.
When you join this cult, you have to give up all earthly possessions and you have to leave behind your previous identity. So they have you choose a new name that is like some variation of something that would appear in the Bible or the Torah or something. I never heard many names that were like Hebrew names. There were a few, like there was Brother Joshua, and they all refer to each other as Brother Joshua.
Right. Or sister.
Yeah. And I made the mistake of telling Emina that I have a Hebrew name. And so from the second that I told her that, she would only refer to me by my Hebrew name, which is Simcha.
Yeah.
And I hated it.
And they believe in Jesus, but they call him Yahshua.
They do.
But anyway, she was serving us, and just we were getting to know her, and she kept saying, if you guys want to come to our Sabbath on Friday night, it's a really fun time. There's food, and there's dancing. And we were in a production of Fiddler on the Roof at the time, and we were kind of like, this is an interesting, like, kind of parallel to the dynamic of the village and the show.
Right.
And you know, all these we didn't quite understand all these like weird parallels to Judaism too fully yet.
And it was perfect because our days off were literally Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
So It was like, this is the perfect time to go. And it was kind of slim pickings activity wise if we wanted to stay on the resort. Like, we had done karaoke at the resort pretty much every Friday before then. So we were looking for a new activity. And we were like, let's go to the Sabbath. And of course, we took a gummy bear.
Yep. And we took it about 45 minutes before arriving. And so, about 45 minutes to an hour is where it really kicks in.
Oh, yeah. So
And
it's kicking in as we turn off of a main road onto this dirt road.
and it's pitch dark.
Pitch
There's
dark.
no lighting or anything.
It very much feels like it could easily be a scene out of Get Out, to be honest.
Yeah.
You're driving down this road, and we're like, are we lost? Where are we going?
Yeah.
And then we see a dirt lot, and there aren't many cars, but there are some.
Yeah.
And
And
we're
there's
like,
this house, and in the way back, there's like you can see some sort of a fire going on.
mm-hmm.
And we're like, what are we getting ourselves into? And it's the gummy bears kicking in, and it's just like everything's very heightened.
And we're walking up, and everyone is like looking at us like, oh, who are these Sabbath guests
Yeah.
tonight? And then Emina sees us and happily greets us, and she's like so proud that we are her guests of the evening. So she brings us over to the circle, which is the service.
And there's probably about 60 people there
Yeah.
in this circle, right?
And they're all members of the cult, with the exception of us and I think one other guy.
Who turned out to be a very anti Semitic, crazy person.
And of course, I'm sitting next to him.
Yeah.
And it was very fascinating.
And they're all standing up, taking turns, just kind of awkwardly rambling about their week and the blessed things that happened to them.
And in theory, this should be like a really beautiful, amazing concept, because the focus was what I was like, okay, this is going to be really beautiful and amazing. But there's no real train of thought to these people. It's almost like they've all had lobotomies.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there and they're talking about whatever happened that week. For example, this one guy gets up and he's like, I was very tired this week. And then I go in to do my dish duty at midnight. Midnight. He had midnight dish duty. And I walked into the kitchen, and Brother Yahweh had said, can I say Yahweh? Is that, yeah. Brother Yahweh had done my dishes for me. And it was like, fun little sweet activities.
Yeah, it was just, but that to them was like the most profound thing that had happened all week. I'm just trying so hard not to laugh. Like, it's one of those things where you're just like suppressing it so much that you're smiling and just like.
Or they would go up and try to be profound and just be like, I walked into the deli this week. I couldn't find the onions. The onions revealed themselves where I least expected them. Like, but it would take 10 minutes for each thing to
Yeah.
be said.
And a lot of these people we learn are reformed drug addicts or people that are obviously lost souls that stumble into this group and give themselves over to it. They're borderline, like probably homeless youth that they see a place that takes them in and feeds them and gives them a community, and they thrive.
I do think a few of them are like actual with it together hippies, who, or more with it than some of these youth. And they do feel like this gives them a purpose. There's a couple of them that like kind of give that vibe. While they're very, very, very kind and generous in some ways, there's a very creepy energy
Yeah.
to this whole thing.
There's a lifelessness to their eyes. There's just like a very weird energy. And
Right.
after the fire, they're like, all right, we're clearing out and we're going to bring in the tables and it's dinner time. And then the food rolls out, and it's
Unbelievable.
unbelievably good. We get like a salad to start. Oh, this challah bread that was so good.
Yeah, like one of the best homemade challahs I've ever had.
Was there another appetizer?
No, I don't
Then it
think
was
so.
salmon, really, really good salmon. This rice with bits of like dried fruit and nuts in it, and a salad.
And then baklava for dessert.
Oh yeah, so good. I mean, every aspect of it, we were like, wow.
I was like, I did not think it could be better than the deli, but I
Yeah.
knew it was going to be good because the deli is so good. And but this meal was unbelievable. And then dinner ends, and it's time for the evening festivities, which is dancing,
Yep.
dancing around the fire. And so one of, like they bring out a fiddle, a washboard, and it's literally like the restaurant music, like ding 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 ding, but
Yeah,
like
there's like
peppier.
7-year-olds on the washboard, and just like it was really something.
Yeah, they are coming alive. And then the dancing begins. And one of the dances start, and we're just kind of looking at the sidelines. And then Emina comes up and is like, "Would you like to join in the dancing?" But she specifically goes up to Jacob and is like, "Jacob, you'll want to do this next one."
Yep.
And
And yeah, this she's like she comes up with her hands clasped, and she's just looking at the fire, not looking at me, and I'm like side profile with her. She's like, "The men are about to do a big burly dance."
And I was stoked. I was like, I want to do the big burly dance. And she said, No, Samantha. This one is much too difficult. We'll do a dance later with the women. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so sexist.
But the men dance there was a lot of like and stomping and then spinning around
It
in
was
circles.
actually very impressive that they had those technical dance abilities,
Yeah.
given the lack of other abilities.
Right. Yeah, it really came out there. And then when we were leaving, she would walk us to our car and be like, you come to volleyball tomorrow.
Yeah, and
They
we're
do
like-
volleyball. And we'll
and
see.
we'll see.
We've got rehearsal or something. And yeah, but they didn't really like try to push us to convert or anything. It was more just like, come back and hang with us.
Yeah, and I think at this point we were like, this is like weird, but like weird enough that we're like still into it.
Yeah. And the
And
food was so good.
the food was so
We're like,
good.
why not go again?
Yeah, so we were like, but this time we're going to bring our friends.
Mm-hmm.
So in between the Sabbath, we had still gone to the restaurant. We're like, Emina, we're coming back with our friends this time. So we brought two of our friends, and and I had these hats, and I was like, you guys should wear these hats when we go. So these two friends are each wearing these big hats, but it's like not matching their outfits at all
No.
because they were like a last minute thought. So we bring our friends back with these hats,
And we gave them gummy bears.
and we bring them back and we're like, you guys, I cannot wait for you to have this meal. So they're back with us, and they're kind of experiencing the whole thing. We sit down for the service, and this time the conversation is, okay, well, we have to be appreciative of the things that happen to us, even when we least expect it. And that's why I have to let you all know that tonight we're eating mackerel. And there was this collective, like, group disappointment where every member of the cult was like, and we're like looking at our friends and we're like,
Yeah, and I had never had mackerel before, so I didn't really understand.
and our one friend is like this award-winning baker who just is really good at cooking anything. And he looks over and he's like, mackerel.
Uh-huh. And then it came out and it was burned. It was so bad. The meal was a total disaster.
It was a total disaster.
Every
and not
aspect
only
of
that, three of us could hang with the gummy bear, and one of the guys that we brought could not.
Yeah.
So he's like dozing off at the table, and everyone's like, "Is your friend all right?"
Oh my God. Yeah.
And
And I don't know if they participated in the dances.
no, I think only we did, but I was still like pissed that I couldn't do the burly man dance and that I had to do the one where it's just women holding hands and walking around the circle.
Yep.
It's like the women walk around the circle and then they do clap, 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 clap.
Yeah. Simple things.
Simple things.
And we only went one other time, and then we were sort of banished
Yeah.
because
And
Samantha went into the bathroom with a male friend just to
yes.
pee. Of course, a queer male friend. There was nothing wrong other than they just wanted to have a laugh in the bathroom, and Emina caught them coming out.
Yeah.
And she was doing the Addams Family musical at the time.
Yeah. And then she said, you know, Samantha, let us know when you are ready to leave the Addams family and come and join us and do the work that you were destined to do. By the way, she didn't call me Samantha. Let me also reiterate that she called me by my Hebrew name, Simcha. And I would also be like, oh no, Emina, I go by Samantha. I don't go by that. And she insisted on calling me it. It was bizarre.
Should have told her you have different pronouns, seeing if she would have gone with that.
I don't think she knows what a pronoun
I
is.
don't think so either.
And I would like to say that we feel comfortable talking about this in this way because there has been such research and documentaries that have gone into this particular cult. It's called the 12 Tribes. There are locations all around America. When we made this video, we had some followers comment that there's one in Chattanooga. There's ones, I mean, they're all over the place.
Alaska.
I think there's one in Canada. So people, if you've gone, you understand what it's like. And again, we'll still go and eat if we're allowed after they see this podcast, if they even still have technology. But it is definitely this thing that is controversial. Things have come out where,
They like to spank their kids with sticks.
yeah, like there's just a lot of crazy things that have come out. The families and people like live in rooms that are like 20 deep, and I guess the whole thing is kind of a sham. Like if you tip them, the tips don't go to them. The tips go to the cult leaders.
Yeah, so I'm like, I'm not tipping them.
So we don't tip because we're like, they don't get it anyway.
Right.
We tip in all other scenarios, but once we learned that, we're like,
Yeah.
this is a little sketchy.
Yep.
So we're not saying this for any other reason other than it has been proven that this is a cult, and we did go for free food. And again, I encourage you to go to their restaurants and eat there, support them. And if you get invited to a Sabbath, I would actually say you should take it up.
It's
and
an
go.
interesting experience.
It is an interesting experience.
Now we come to the fun stuff of this podcast where we take your user confessions or viewer confessions and absolve you of all your sins. And some of you have done some bad shit.
Anyone who ever submits a confession to us, we keep anonymous. And we encourage these submissions to be things that you maybe haven't told anyone before, but that you want to get off your chest.
Yep.
Because it just is a fun place to do it. And we might be a little judgy, but we do it with a heart.
Exactly. And here at the end of the day, when people say no judgment, they're lying. Everybody judges everything. So we're just going to say, you know what? We're going to judge it a little bit, but we judge everything. So who cares?
Yeah, and the point of life is that we believe that you should live an honest life. And sometimes people feel like being honest is difficult, which is why I think they invent white lies about things. But we believe that, and this is actually the foundation of our relationship. We are brutally honest without being brutal. And sometimes that means that you have to face some brutal truths about yourself or your partner. And you have to just trust that you're strong enough to be able to overcome it. And everyone is. And the more you practice just being completely honest in all aspects of your life, you live life more peacefully, more fearlessly, and it's just a better situation for all involved. We're trying to make the world a better place here, and this is how we think we can do it. So, without further ado, this is a good one. Okay, here is a deep, dark secret that's pretty funny. When I was in my 20s, I didn't have any money to go to the doctor, so I used Tinder instead. One time, I pulled something in my knee when I was running, and I ran to Tinder to find somebody who was in sports medicine. Made a date with him, and then limped around on the date until he asked me what
Oh
was
my
wrong.
God.
Then he told me exactly what muscle he thought it was, what to do, and he even took me to CVS where he bought me bandages to wrap it. I didn't just stop with doctors either. I found a very large, burly dude in special forces to scare away a guy who lived in the apartment across from me who gave me the creeps.
Wow.
Honestly, you gotta give her props for
I
being
mean,
resourceful.
yeah. First of all, you're putting yourself in awkward positions
Yeah,
more so than just going to the damn hospital
right.
or I don't know, calling the police on the creepy guy or some I don't know who you would call on that, but yeah,
She was using Tinder to solve her problems.
yeah. And it feels like maybe that would have created more problems,
Yeah, because
interpersonal problems.
correct. Like, what happened when you ended up wanting to, like, cut it off with the guy?
Mm-hmm. Like, thanks for the repairs.
Honestly, I can't knock the hustle. We're trying to solve a problem. Now,
I
it
really
wasn't.
would love to see the limping, the
Yeah,
fake
the limping
limping.
was the best.
Oh,
And the guy being like, "What's wrong?" Also, sounds like maybe you should actually go on another date with guy number one because if he's able to, on a first date, be able to not be weirded out by your limping and want to
uh-huh.
help you, that's I have to give him props for that.
Plus, he's a doctor. He gonna pay them bills, gonna pay them cell phone bills,
Pay the automobiles,
automobiles.
baby, maybe we can chill.
Yeah. No,
So,
sounded like a good candidate. I mean, you know, like if you're really looking for a soulmate and also a job to be done, maybe you kill two birds with one stone.
look, I there was a time in my life where I didn't go through with it, but I thought about it. There was a internet service called Rent a Friend, and
Hmm.
people could pay you to be their friend.
Oh yeah.
And one of my friends and I did create profiles, and we did get offers to be rented for friendship, but it was a little crazy.
Yeah.
So I kind of nixed that idea.
My secret is I don't like my stepkids at all. Are they redheads too? Oh my god. You know, I think this is probably more common than people let on. First of all, the stepkids usually mean they're from the other woman or the other man from the
Yeah.
previous thing, so you already got that going on.
And they're probably walking into a situation with a little level of like, who are you? So
Right.
you have a lot to prove to the stepkids. You have more to prove to the stepkids than the stepkids have to prove to you.
Yeah.
And you, it's kind of like something you have to accept if you're going to get married to someone else,
Right.
especially later in life. Sometimes people just come along with kids.
Yeah.
Now, Jacob has been a stepchild in
Many
many
times.
different
Yes.
instances.
And I have
And,
good advice for step parents,
uh huh,
having been a kid raised by step parents. My thing is don't ever try to go in there and be a third parent.
yeah,
It's just it's a recipe for disaster. Let the two parents be the parents. You just be more like a fun aunt or uncle.
yeah, that
It's
sounds right.
you're gonna just lead to the kid resenting you if you really try to step in there and be a parent. And that's it's just it's really, I know it's probably hard, and maybe even for some people it's exciting, like you inherit a child.
But and I think there are certain instances where it is okay to be a parent and not more an aunt and uncle figure, but that's a
Right.
very specific situation, and in those situations you would know better than me because you've been in it, but I would say those situations would probably be the situations where one of the parents is absent. Like
Yeah.
maybe that child never had a father or a
Right.
mother
That's
figure. So if
different.
you can step into that and that child wants that, then that's one thing. But I think, like in any relationship, it's very important to establish the dynamic that you two want together and figure that out.
Hmm.
And I do think there are a lot of cases where there are bitchy stepchildren or there are step parents who come in and try to do too much.
Yeah.
So I really, it's an
You don't.
interesting thing.
Yeah, I would suggest you try and find some sort of quality about them to, or some sort of way to live with them, because if you're going to be with your spouse for the rest of your life, if you're hoping to, then the kid's always going to be involved.
I'm just
And
noticing that your foot is so dirty and it's on our brand new
oh boy.
couch. See, we're brutally honest
Mm-hmm.
here.
Yeah. So maybe learn to try and find something to like about them or a way to live with them, but you don't have to be in love with them like they're your child.
And unless they're like actual bitches, and if they're just being rude for the sake of being rude, then fuck them.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck them. You don't have to. Are they over 18? Set them free.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Some of these are like really, really, really raunchy.
Oh God. Well, that's fine. We don't have to censor this.
Yeah, I'm just, it's interesting that that's the confession that everyone wants to have. Okay. Okay. So my secret is that twice in my life, I slept with two brothers. Ugh, I know. First time I was very young, and the second time I was married, having serious issues and having an affair. We broke up, and I started up with his brother. Wait a minute. So there's a lot to unload here. The second time she was married to a brother,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Slept with his brother. Mm.
this. I'll let you handle this one.
I mean, first of all, you have an affair, which is not good. And then, but also, why with the brother? What about that situation did you think? It's almost like, was this done in spite? Was this
That's
done
what I'm
intentionally
gathering.
to hurt this person more?
Or were you like, well, I liked him well enough. Maybe his brother will be better?
Right. Like, is he like the more attractive version of your husband in your eyes?
But this is the second time it happened. Once it happened when she was younger.
Right. With another set of brothers.
That's also awkward for the brothers.
Uh-huh. That's very awkward. Yeah, I think keep it out of the family and don't do that at all. It's kind of my advice. Don't have an affair, and especially don't have an affair with the person's family members.
Right. Now, it is interesting because I always find it like very interesting when it's like two sisters married two brothers.
Which is what my grandparents did.
I know, which is very old fashioned. And I think in those olden days when towns are really small and there's
Right.
not a lot of people, and they're like, well, that's a good family.
Yeah.
But it's also like, I guess if they're just two sisters, what if they're twins and twins? Is that what happened in your family?
There was two twins married sisters. My grandpa and his twin brother married my grandma and her sister.
Are they identical?
They are identical twins, but they don't look anything alike
Okay.
for some
But then
reason.
how are they identical?
I don't know. I think they're identical.
Wouldn't they be fraternal?
Maybe.
Yeah. It is, do you think that that's Not a little weird?
I mean, in this day and age, it is. I mean, it's not like you're not going in your own family. It's
Right.
not. It would be like if your in-laws married your brothers.
Yeah,
If like, you know what I mean? It's
I get
it's
it.
it's it's a little strange in the sense that there's no you don't like for like my dad doesn't have any in-law aunts and uncles. Like they're
Right.
all blood relatives.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. I think if it works, it works. It's legal. It's healthy. It's
Yeah.
not like a you're not going to have an inbred child because of it. I think
Right.
in this day and age, it is a little bit more strange than, or if you like, if somebody did it in like a big city,
Right.
it'd be a little weird. But I think, like you said, in these small towns where people all
Back
know
in the
each other,
1940s.
yeah, where it was just like, you had like five families to choose from
Yeah.
that had children in your age category.
You probably
It's
like grew up playing with each other.
right,
I
right.
get it.
Yeah.
I get it. So I guess my advice for this woman would be to,
Quit.
in the future, maybe keep it out of the family
Mm-hmm.
and try to figure out what's making you then want to go. It does sound like it's more done out of spite.
Yeah. Or there's some sort of like taboo, like getting off on the fact that she's doing this.
Yeah, wild.
Well,
But we appreciate you for
thank
being
you for your
honest.
honesty,
Thank you
getting
for
it
your
off your
honesty. It's
chest.
off your chest, and I hope you're having a great day.
Hey, Samantha, I've got a
Hey.
good confession for your podcast. Probably should have gone to confession after this one. Yes,
I
well,
like her
you're in
sense of humor.
confession, hun. I am an event planner, and years back, I was planning a wedding for a friend. It was a Catholic ceremony, so an hour plus long. And during the ceremony, my ex and I went to the bathroom. It was a single, huge bathroom, so we went in together and ended up doing the dirty while the ceremony was happening in the Catholic Church. Oh boy. The eyes of God are watching you.
Well, was your ex invited to the wedding? Was that just coincidence, or were you like, "Hey, I'm doing this event today.
Yeah, that is
Come
interesting.
on."
How did he end up there?
Yeah, that's my biggest question about
Yeah.
all of this.
This sounds
Other,
like a rom-com and like the wedding planner.
yeah, I kind of like this one.
I don't see anything that wrong with this one, but I don't have the
Aside from the fact that you are, I think there's two things that could be, depending on the perception, could be wrong. For me, I agree. There's nothing quite wrong with it, other than the fact that you're doing something that would not agree with the Catholic Church, A,
yeah.
or B, that you've been hired to be this event planner and you are spending your
Right.
time overseeing this event,
Yeah, there's a lack
boning
of
in the bathroom.
professionalism. One of the wedding guests,
Right. So that's what I would say is probably
the
my
wrong
the
side.
I actually think it's kind of funny that you're doing this in the Catholic
Yeah.
Church.
And there's no Bible verse that says thou shalt not have sex in my church.
Right.
It's just that's like one of those things like you swore in church or something that people just like attach something to in this day and age that is like whatever, like who cares?
But I'm glad you got it off your
I'm
chest.
glad too.
I really just really want to know, why was the ex at the wedding?
Right, yeah, that's a really
Was he
interesting
invited by
concept.
you, or was it coincidence?
Yeah.
Because if it was coincidence that he was there, this makes it even more of a rom-com, and I'm like, I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting detail that's missing. But you're absolved of your sin.
We absolve you of your
That's not
sins.
too bad. That's you know,
All
think
right. Are we ready for the very long one?
I'm ready.
It's going to be long. Buckle up. I have always prided myself on being pretty mature, but I let an evil little dog get the best of me. So my family and I are living with my grandmother-in-law in her house. We are taking care of her because she's elderly and is recovering from surgeries. My husband's sister and her husband also live here with us. We will call them Melanie and Todd. Well, Melanie had a little yappy ankle biting dog, Fred, who she absolutely loves. Fred is her baby. Anyways, Fred was in the habit of biting me for no reason when no one was looking. I would tell Melanie about it because she basically called me a liar because sweet baby Fred would never hurt a living soul. Fred also would pee and poop all over the house, in the laundry room, pantry, my room, my kids' rooms, my grandma's mother's rooms, basically every room except Melanie and Todd's room. It got so bad that I would step in pee and poop. I would tell Melanie about it and she would completely dismiss everything I said. She wouldn't clean up after him. She wouldn't get on to him and she wouldn't train him. How can you disrespect your grandma's house like this when she's nice enough to let you live there and you don't pay rent? You don't pay rent. I agree. I finally had enough. This is where my maturity went out the window. Anytime I saw or stepped on pee or poop, I would put yellow food coloring in water and pour it into their bed. I would also pick his poops up with a paper towel and throw it on their bed. Fred sometimes
Wow.
sleeps under their covers, so sometimes I would throw the poop under the covers, so when they would get in bed, they would lay on poop. Todd was not happy. He eventually gave Melanie an ultimatum: train Fred or get rid of him. Melanie tried training Fred, but he was still peeing all over the house, so that meant he was still going in their bed. Pissed me off because they didn't care until it happened in their bed. Todd ended up getting rid of Fred while Melanie was at work. Melanie came home and cried for weeks. Todd has since replaced the carpets and the house is clean. I'm happy and have no regrets. To this day, no one knows.
Wow.
Honestly, I would be really pissed too.
Yeah. First of all, pick up after your animals and
Yeah.
train your animals to be housebroken.
Now, I have very split opinions on dogs. The dogs I love, I love. The dogs I don't really like or care for, and the ones that annoy me, they annoy me because they're not trained.
Right.
And a dog that is not trained is a reflection of its owner.
Always.
By the way, I'm putting my foot on. My feet are clean. But wow.
Uh-huh.
I didn't go outside today barefoot.
Train your wife.
Train your wife.
Now, throwing the poop onto somebody's bed is pretty awful and disgusting, but I can see getting to a kind of snapping point if you're constantly walking in this stuff. And there's just something about when animals relieve themselves in a space, it just makes the space so
It's disgusting.
filthy. It's
Especially if
awful.
you are living in someone else's home and the ultimate goal of living in this home is to take care of the grandmother
Yeah.
and to be a contributing family household member. You're taking away from everyone's peace. And it'd be one thing if it had not been addressed before, but it was clearly like nothing was being done for this dog and taking care of this dog.
Yep. They also say cat pee has a chemical compound that makes people crazy.
Well,
They
that's
say
why I don't
that's
want anything to do
why
with
old
cats.
cat ladies go crazy because they're constantly inhaling this chemical of cat pee. It's the grossest. I mean, really. And then the smell of the litter, just the plain litter without the stuff. It's gross. It's
By
awful.
memory, I'm feeling nauseous.
Yeah.
Oh, last week I was in Nordstrom, and I'm literally in the middle of Nordstrom, and a dog is shitting
Oh
in the
God.
middle of Nordstrom. And then they did pick the poop up, but I'm like, why is your dog pooping in the middle of a department store? And then one of the ladies from the makeup counter had to come over and clean the area where the dog had shat. It's just, to me, it's so selfish. What feels like the saddest part of this story is that Todd then had
Who's Todd?
Todd from the
Oh,
story, the owner of the dog's
yes.
wife.
Oh, okay.
When Melanie was away, Todd gave the dog away.
Yeah,
So
that
at
is
the end
sad.
of the day, the person who has to suffer in this story the most, the dog is the one that's suffering, all because the selfish owner didn't want to train the dog.
Yeah.
And the dog gets given away to what? Probably a homeless shelter, maybe got put down, which is the saddest thing ever. And it's not fair to the dog. This happens way too often where people own dogs and they treat the dog terribly. It
Yep.
makes me so mad. Get a goldfish.
Yep. Well, in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost, you are
You are
absolved
absolved
of
of your
sins. All of you.
sins.
Thank you for sharing your deep, dark confessions with us. Keep them coming.
Yes. The
And-
darker, the deeper, the sillier, the better.
Yeah, and we appreciate all of you and are judging you, but also
Laughing with you.
laughing and having love and saying we all have things.
Yeah,
to
we all have
confess.
things to confess, and we are just so grateful that you are even confessing with us to begin with. It's amazing, and we cannot wait for you to tune into our next episode of Brutally Honest with Sam and Jacob.